Hey guys, welcome to 6 Minutes for Monday, June 27th. I'm Jason Fulmore, SC Russell. And today, yes, we are a little slow on the breakdown, breaking down junior duels, Greco. It happened probably a week and a half ago now. I watched all of it leading up to leaving for Disney duels, and then obviously didn't get this done, but certainly things we need to talk about as it relates to Greco, if for no other reason than the fact that Florida had an outstanding performance. We're finished top 8, and that was something that we definitely need to talk about. And number 2, there were a lot of individuals who wrestled exceptionally well, and they are in position after a really good showing in Oklahoma to be on the radar for making the podium in Fargo. So we definitely need to highlight those individuals as well. So we're going to break this down. Before I do that, though, let's go with some more timely news. And a shout out to Sawyer Bartelt of South Dade in Florida. He is a Pan Am champ in both freestyle and Greco for 17U. Shout out to South Carolina's Annalise Marillet, who is also a Pan Am champ, I believe at 40 kilos for the women at Pan Am's. And then Kyle Oliveira took second. I believe it was in Greco. I don't know if he placed in freestyle. Sorry about that, Kyle. I know he took second to Sawyer Bartelt in Greco at Pan Am's for Team Brazil. Anyway, congratulations to all of them, all the Southeast wrestlers that went to Argentina, I believe it was, and competed this over the last few days down there for Pan Am's. All right, so let's jump over to Greco. And, Team Florida, I'm going to start with Team Florida. They didn't win it all, right? Team Iowa won in the gold-silver pool, 34-31 over Minnesota Gold. But Florida was right there in the competition for the top teams. And here's the graphic for Florida. You can see they started off really with a dominant performance over Georgia Blue, 60-7. They didn't lose a match. They didn't lose a single match in that duel. And that was, Georgia Blue was good. Wasn't probably the best, certainly could have had a bit of a better performance in certain situations. They wrestled hard. They did. One match I watched was Brendan Abden versus Latrell Schaefer. I think it was like 13-8, 13-9. Real battle between two really, really good wrestlers from the Southeast. But, in those matches, Florida had a tendency to come out on top. They then beat Pennsylvania, lost to Illinois 33-33 on tiebreakers, 8-7. Illinois had 8 wins, Florida had 7 wins, and thus they took the L. And then they actually had to battle for true second and beat a very good Oklahoma Blue team, 33-32. That put them down into the gold-silver pool, where they lost to Minnesota Gold, 42-23. Lost to Oklahoma Red, 34-33. Probably feels like they let that one get away. Otherwise, they turned it back around, beat Wisconsin pretty handily, and then beat Illinois, team that beat them the day before. So if you watched any of the matches, Sawyer Bartelt, who I just mentioned about Pan Am's, been busy summer for Sawyer, Brendan Abden, and Franklin Ordonez Fernandez were all unbeaten. Oh, and Ethan Vergara. Sorry about that, Ethan. We're all unbeaten in Greco for Team Florida. Washburn, Fretwell, Van Hoke all wrestled exceptionally well. Florida had a super good team put together for these duels, and it really, really showed. Yeah, so congratulations to Team Florida. And I wanted to put together, because you could watch, if you go to Flow, you can go watch Florida, I think Bartelt wrestled Omari Alvarez, but the one that actually that I was watching very closely, I think was Peyton Miller of Oklahoma and Franklin Ordonez Fernandez, which was going to be a huge key to whether Florida made the gold silver pool or if they didn't. And you can watch Franklin really frustrate the Oklahoma wrestler and I believe it was Oklahoma. I believe that match. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And I want to pull that clip to show you kind of the position that Franklin kept the entire time. Never out of position. Really, really fantastic in there, battling time and time again. He frustrated Peyton a lot. But that's on Flow or on Track Wrestling. And I don't want to run the risk of capturing something from them, putting that in here and having a problem with Flow Wrestling. So unlike the Disney duels, if you watched any of them and some of the highlights, those are all done by me, so I post those. But pulling it from somebody from especially a media organization, even if I credit them, I'm going to avoid that if I can. So anyway, let's jump over to Georgia Blue. Oh, no, let's jump over to Alabama. And Alabama actually had a really good junior Greco tournament. They started off with losses to Iowa and Missouri, bounced back against Georgia Red, 39-24, and then finished the yellow-green pool unbeaten and really took care of business on the second day. Now, again, keep in mind that it's, the yellow-green pool. It's not the toughest competition, but they wrestled exceptionally well. Isaiah Poe was unbeaten. Devin Stone was unbeaten. And then you see below, there's a number of wrestlers with one loss, and they all competed very, very hard. I'm really excited to watch the Alabama wrestlers compete in Fargo. I think Kel Tucker down at 106 has a real opportunity. I'm looking forward to Aiden Knight. Will Conlon, who was 6-1 at 195 and 220, definitely should. Junior's a different world than cadets, but they definitely have an opportunity to be competitive in Fargo and make a run. All right, now let's go over to Georgia Blue. Georgia Blue lost to Florida, bounced back to Texas B, then lost to Oklahoma Blue, then beat Indiana to fall into the red-blue pool, where they beat Virginia, Missouri, and North Dakota Blue, all in great matches. Now, for me, that was what kind of was the epitome of the Georgia Blue squad, was that they fought back. It would have been real easy to not feel motivated after falling into the red-blue pool, because I'm sure they had their sights set higher, much higher than that. But they fought through all three of those duels, won them in thrilling. I mean, really, go back and watch the duels. They were exceptionally interesting to watch before they lost to Michigan Blue. Colby McBride wrestled really well. Colin Mullins went 6-2 at 132. One of the toughest weights around. And Colin wrestled exceptionally well as well. Latrell was 4-2. Matthew Waddell is 4-1. And, Amari was 5-2. And you have to keep this in mind. Amari wrestled at 182, 195. But one of his losses was bumping up to Sawyer Bartelt at 195. I don't know if he bumped up for the team, he bumped up for the competition, and that was a loss that he took. But he sought out that competition, and sometimes records are not necessarily the best reflection of how well you wrestled or how well you competed for the weekend. So keep that in mind. All right, Georgia Red. Now this is where I get a little. It's a little challenging. On teams, Georgia brought 2, like they did in the girls and everything else. I just wonder if they wouldn't be better served to combine for one team for Greco and then split it for freestyle so everybody can get those matches. What ends up happening is you kind of get ground into dust, or you can. And Georgia Red had a lot of forfeits throughout their lineup. They came in with forfeits, but then they ended up with losing. I mean, they lost every single duel, as you can see here. They lost every single duel. Yet you look down below, Alan Calderon 6-1, Max MacArthur 6-1, Tyson McCullough 3-1, William Chambers and Tyler McKnight, both went 5-2. And then you see down in the bottom right hand corner, you see 23-29. So out of 52 matches they wrestled, not forfeits. Don't include any of the forfeits. We were talking about actual matches that were wrestled, right? Georgia Red was almost 500. They were 23 and 29. Now that's not great. That's not world beaters by any stretch of the imagination, but that's not a team that would lose 7 duels in a row. Okay, they were 500 when they were on the mat, but you can't make up. You can't make up for forfeits. You cannot make up that ground and be competitive. So I just don't know if you walk in with so many forfeits, if that's the way to go, especially if you have 2 teams. Maybe you get 3 matches in Greco instead of, I don't know, 7 or 8 matches in Greco. But if this is your proving ground and your training ground and you're getting ready to go to Fargo and getting ready to compete, yeah, maybe you want all those matches. So it's really a balancing act between those 2 things. All right. Jump over to North Carolina. North Carolina, like Georgia Red, had quite a few forfeits. Not as many though. They had they started Pool C with losses to Utah and Minnesota Silver before they beat South Carolina 34-32. Then they beat Georgia Red, North Dakota Red, and Kansas Red on the backside, or in the yellow-green pool, not backside, sorry. And had some good wrestling. Joey Baisley, Kyle Jamerson, Jerry Sanook were all finished above 500 for Team North Carolina. Team South Carolina lost. I mean, they took it on the chin against California. Then lost North Dakota Blue and North Carolina. But I want to point out the North Carolina duel. And I didn't do it on the slide with North Carolina because this is a testament to Team South Carolina in this situation. And that is they lost a duel, 34-32. But they won more matches that were competed. South Carolina won 6 of the 10 matches that were wrestled. Okay? They lost 4 of those matches, and then they lost a bunch of forfeits to other places within the lineup and ended up losing a duel. But when they went out and actually were on the mat and competed, and if we talk about just straight up matches, South Carolina actually won more individual matches in that duel. Yellow-green pool, lost to Alabama, Kansas Red, Michigan Red, beat Georgia Red. William Jakeway, Teague Strobel, Mason Parsons all had really good, not fantastic, but good, Greco tournaments. It'll be interesting to see how they continue to press. Will we continue to work towards Fargo? I don't know. I know Jakeway was at Fargo last year. I'm not sure Strobel or Parsons were there. Those are 3 individuals from South Carolina you might want to keep an eye on as we head to Fargo. All right, and our last team, Team Tennessee. Team Tennessee was one of the teams that I paid a lot of attention to, and the reason I paid a lot of attention to them was because they were just in a lot of really exciting duels. It seemed that day one, it seemed to come down to Ian McGahee, Kodiak Kennedy, Aiden Bowers, time and again. It just did. In Pool A, they beat Virginia, lost to Minnesota Gold, beat California Gold. Then they beat Nebraska, 35-31. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe in a match that came down to Aiden Bowers getting the win. Might have had to have Kodiak Kennedy win that match as well, his match in that one as well, before they lost in the true second to Washington, 45-22. Dropped to the bronze copper pool where they battled. They lost really close to Pennsylvania, beat Kansas Blue, then lost to Colorado and Utah. Back and forth, back and forth. One of the things I loved about watching Team Tennessee is all their kids were battling all the way through. Chase, Carson, Bentley, Mason Alley, Aiden Bowers, and Cameron all finished with records that were above 500. But, you saw a lot of records that, it was 4-5, 5-4, 6-3, 3-6. And from an outsider's perspective, you love to see the way Team Tennessee went into each of those duels and battled through to try to get wins for Team Tennessee. So it was pretty cool. Anyway, I apologize for this being so late. I wish I had gotten it done right after it happened. Things get busy. But I think if nothing else, if you have an opportunity, go back and watch some of these duels, especially some of the ones that are close. Keep an eye on some of these individuals because I think you might be hearing some of their names in a few weeks as they make a run for the podium in Fargo. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful day. You take care, and I'll see you tomorrow with a breakdown of freestyle before I talk a little bit about individuals at Disney Duels. See ya.